Guys, we are back. So I said we'd be taking some calls. You know what? We don't take calls when Garrick joins me. So as you can probably tell by now, Garrick, he's on the other line with me, ready to hear me cry and everything else. What's happening, man? How you doing this weekend?
Oh, I don't know, Josh. Is the sun out today?
Is it? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's. I don't want to go outside. I don't want to celebrate July 4th. Life is terrible. So let's get into it and let's talk about the big news. Kent Bazemore re-signed. No, excuse me. Malcolm Delaney is signed. I know this is the second time I'm trying this joke. It didn't work the second time either. Garrick, I literally had to go Google who the heck Malcolm Delaney is.
I've heard of him. I thought he had already played in the league, but apparently not.
How
Apparently,
much?
this is his first try. I
Oh
remember
boy.
him from Virginia Tech.
See, you actually watched College Hoops. I think I recognize the name. I recognize the name from Virginia Tech, but blah. Garrick is so we have a backup point guard now that I've never heard of who played overseas. I'm just wondering, does he shoot threes and was he cheap? What do you think?
Apparently, he's a pretty good shooter, but he's supposed to be cheap. He better be cheap.
Hawks paid like 10 million a year for a backup. Nah, man. Okay, well, we got the Malcolm Delaney news out the way, so we are completely backup point guard less. Maybe, since he played overseas, he can understand German, and, him and Dennis can get along. I don't know. So let's go ahead and get into it, Garrick. Which big event do you want to talk about first? Dwight or Al?
Let's get into Dwight, I guess.
Okay, so Dwight Howard has come home. The Dwight Howard that we were making fun of, saying like, "Man, I feel sorry for the team that's going to overpay for him." Um, I don't feel we overpaid for him. I will say that, and I feel he won't be as bad as he was in Houston. I don't know. What do you got?
Yeah, the contract is pretty reasonable. Uh, 70 and a half for 3 years. Uh, he had his worst career year last year. So I guess we're expecting a bounce back year from a 31-year-old player who's been in the league since he was 18. It's gonna be tough. But
A lot of miles.
yeah, back injuries and knee injuries.
Well, on the plus side, last year he at least was like in like shutdown mode for half the season.
Yeah,
So there's that. And if Atlanta's coaches saw something in him, maybe there's something good there.
I believe Darvin Ham worked with him in LA, I think. So
Ugh.
he
Uh,
probably vouched for him.
oh, take that as is then, if that's the case. Oh man! So Dwight Howard, the prodigal son, has returned to Atlanta. Um, wow, that
Got a
was
superstar, Josh, I guess.
yeah. They got that superstar everyone's wanted. You got that true center that everyone's wanted. Um,
Mm-hmm.
he will single-handedly. I hope to think that he will single-handedly help with rebounding. I like to believe that. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it will. What was he third in the league in rebounding last year?
Oh yeah, he still averages. He's still averaging
Yeah.
over a double a year. So crap, I did a mic drop right there and didn't mean to on that double. But boy, Dwight Howard. Think Bud's gonna have him shooting 3-pointers?
Never know.
Good thoughts. So, excuse me. Don't know why I'm yawning. I think it's because I'm talking about this. So, my first thought when you sent me the text that, or at least I heard the text that we signed him, I wanted to say, so all of a sudden, I legitimately am interested in this rule change for the hacka,
Yes.
whatever.
Yes. When are the owners meeting?
I don't know. I imagine Hawks fans suddenly want to show up and be like, or at least the owners be like, so this hacker rule, kind of lame.
And Bud was a big proponent of it, using it last year. And we
Really?
used it against Dwight and Capella.
Used against Dwight, Tristan. I'm trying to think of
Drummond,
yeah. Oh boy.
DJ.
Why? Why is this happening to us? No, I'm kidding. Did the signing surprise you at all?
Yeah. I thought we were just gonna keep Al, and I didn't think Dwight would come. I didn't think he would ever come to Atlanta.
Didn't think that?
Nah.
Man. Well, I I don't know what to think. Because I was thinking, my thought was, if Horford left, then Atlanta should at least just go straight. I don't know, tank mode, I would say. But they signed Dwight. So let me see. Is my audio whatever working here? I believe we have a call in now for our first call. The guy Garrick joining me right now, everybody. Let me see. Clayton, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. How are you guys?
Depressed. At least I am. Garrick. So we just got done talking about the Dwight Howard signing. Did you have any quick words on that? Your thoughts of us getting Dwight when the news first happened?
Well, when the news first broke, I was sort of surprised because it happened before we heard from Al Horford, and I thought that Horford would be our the first guy we would hear from in terms of what we were going to do. I figured we would get a sort of a verbal agreement from him, and then go after the rest of the roster with the way they use cap space. So I was sort of surprised, and then right after that, my second thought was, well, I guess that's either Bays or Horford leaves. And then when we signed Bays, I was like, well, I'm expecting Horford to leave. And then we had the Millsap trade rumors and everything. So I really didn't know. There was too much information going on and too much to sort of process at the time. But I didn't mind the Dwight signing in and of itself. But had I known it was going to lead us down this path, I would have been more upset with it. But when the news first came out, I was fine with it, especially when I saw it was only for 3 years.
Yeah, I kind of similar. I was surprised though we didn't really contact. I was surprised at how quick it happened. Did that happen like the first or second day of free agency?
It was the first day. It was within the first I would say, well, I mean, it started midnight. Within the first 18 hours, because it was before 5 o'clock, I believe, that I got the update that we had signed him. So it really happened fast. And I remember they were meeting at Del Frisco's, I believe, right around lunchtime, and I was like a mile from there, and I was like, I'm gonna go over to Del Frisco's and see if I can just see what happens in the conversation, just to watch. But I didn't think that it would happen that fast. I honestly didn't think that it would that would materialize that fast, because again, I thought Al Horford would be our top priority, and maybe that's why he decided to leave, because it was I guess it was clear that he wasn't our top priority. Who knows?
That might be a reason. Man, if you went to Del Frisco's, I would have been like, hey, we need you to take some pictures of all the
I would have just
craziness.
dropped it. I would have turned my microphone on and went ahead and dropped it underneath the table accidentally, or slid it underneath their table and just tried to record the conversation if possible. But yeah, I mean, I contemplated just trying to figure out, because I was within walking distance from there when I got that report, and I was like, if I could get over there and somehow take some pictures, that would blow up.
So going into our next part, Garrick, real quick. Kent Bazemore. Um, Real quick before we go back and talk about the big thing that happened over the weekend, were you kind of surprised that Kent was signed so quick and for that much
Yeah,
and before everyone else?
yeah. I was surprised that he was signed first, but not really surprised. 4 years, 70 million for Kent Bazemore is pretty good, considering what Luau Dean got. What
Yeah.
uh,
What Mozgov got, I was kind of like,
yeah, Mozgov and Chandler Parsons doesn't have three good knee ligaments in one knee. So
yeah. The Kent signing was kind of, it was surprising to me because it just seemed like when that happened, I was like, holy crap, are they really forgetting about Horford right now? Because I don't know. I don't know how Al is if he would have taken it personally that they basically went to everyone else first before him. But I don't know. So let's go ahead and get to the big thing. Clayton, what was your kind of thoughts going into the whole Horford drama? um, before obviously he was signed.
Well, I was really I remained it's bad to say this, because as an Atlanta sports fan, this is not my normal reaction to things, but I was still optimistic that Horford would re-sign here, and as an Atlanta sports fan, you never remain optimistic about anything like that. But especially when Woj kept putting out reports that we had bumped it up to a 5-year offer from what the 4-year offer we had, and then we were close to a max deal. In my mind, I thought, you know what, Al understands that we do want him here, so hopefully no bridges are burned. So I was cautiously optimistic all the way up until he tweeted out Celtic Pride, and I was sitting there with my wife, and I just kept checking Twitter, and I was looking on. I looked at Al's Twitter, Woj's Twitter. I was going back and forth trying to figure out. And when I saw his Celtic Pride tweet, my heart just sunk.
Was that like Garrick, was that like the most depressing or biggest gut punch you think you've ever had, like paying attention during? Because I was sitting at home on my computer. I had my TV on, but I had my computer up when all that was happening. I was like, oh my God, come on, Al, we're close. We're close to bringing you back. We will have a monster front court if it's you, Dwight, and Millsap for this next year. And then all of a
yeah,
sudden,
when I
Celtic.
saw those Shamrocks, yeah, I'm like Clayton. My heart sunk.
It
Uh,
was. And it's just like it's not that Al. Well, it is that Al left, but it's also kind of like you thinking he's going to resign because we offered the 5 year, and I'm like, oh my goodness, they. And here we go, with the Spades reference, Garrick. They threw down the small Joker. No, no, no. I would say we lost on the small Joker. We still had the big Joker, but we let the small Joker walk because the other team offered the max. But anyway, back from my awesome Spade references that no one apparently gets on Twitter. But it was kind of like, seeing all that, and I was like, why not Boston? And especially of how much hope you had. Like, I don't know, guys. Like, it seemed like he was going to be returning because it was very hopeful. Then all of a sudden, Celtic pride, and then his whole Twitter page changed.
It was definitely one of the more like you said, sort of a gut punch. It really was, because at that point I had already psyched myself up for a Millsap, Horford, Howard front court. Because I figured if Horford wants to come back here and he agrees in principle, then we'll figure out what we need to do to get rid of Splitter and to get rid of Tim Hardaway Jr., whoever we need to make sure that he fits in. And I was just thinking about that front court. And even though I wasn't as excited to move Millsap to the three, he could do it in stretches. And there's enough minutes to go around with him moving to the three. There was enough minutes to go around between those sort of 2.5 positions to where I would have thoroughly enjoyed that. And I had sold myself on that. And then for it to not come to fruition, and now we're sort of scrambling at this point to fill out the remainder of the roster. It was definitely a gut punch, and one that, yeah, I say I'm used to it as an Atlanta sports fan. You know, I mean, obviously we all know from experience, there's being an Atlanta sports fan outside of Cleveland, and obviously they just won that title. Atlanta sports is one of the more heartbreaking teams or cities of teams to follow.
Yeah, and it was Boston of all teams. just Boston of all teams. I don't know, man. He just apparently reported that he didn't want to play with Dwight, or he wasn't happy about the signing. He finally got to move back. Which, by the way, take this all true position, truthers out there. He went to go play center instead of playing power forward. Just pointing that out. But I don't know. It was just we were on such a high, and they're like, oh my God, this might actually work out. Like, even worst case scenario, I was kind of like sold for the idea of getting parts for Millsap, because his contract is going to be up soon. Anyway, Garrick, do you want to say something?
The one time Woj is wrong, he's wrong with Atlanta. That's Atlanta in a nutshell.
Yeah, seriously. The magic Woj is wrong. It had to do with us.
Well, and to your point about the Millsap sort of trade potential there, if you'd have given me an Al Horford, even for the max or close to whatever we're offering, and even if we'd have flipped Millsap for some future assets, we're still looking better today in terms of the future. Now, obviously, Millsap fits better next to Howard than, say, Horford would next to Howard, but Millsap could have brought you in some picks and maybe a player if they wanted it, but we were probably trying to get rid of just a complete salary dump. So I understand that. But, I mean, just the potential of what Millsap could have brought you back was definitely something that I got excited about. I was like, well, if we do sign Al and we trade Millsap, then we'll still be okay because we'll have more future assets, and who knows what could happen there.
Totally agree. I was actually kind of like at least hopeful for that, but man, we're not in a terrible place, because at least we still own draft picks, and we did draft 2 rookies. But boy, I don't know, just heartbreaking. So we hear the news about Horford. Horford up and leaves. He goes to Boston of all teams. 4-year contract. And now we hear the news later coming out. Comments from Tito Horford from, I believe it's the Boston Globe. That's what I heard. By now we heard the comments of, well, kind of one of those like burn all the bridges on the way out of the city kind of thing. Garrick, is that even more like painful now that you've heard or read that?
Nah, not to me.
Not to you?
Nah, because it was a private conversation between him and his dad. But his dad decided to tell everybody. So
you're right.
And it's not like he said that we're terrible or something. Kyle Korver has come out in the past and said that Atlanta sports fans weren't always weren't that passionate. So it's known around the league. I'm not really mad at Al or his dad, because it's true. But
we just don't want to hear the truth in our moment of pain, Garrick. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Are you setting up? Are you setting up to leave CawCast for a 3-year deal in Boston? Celtics cast or Celtics blog or whatever. Is that what's happening right now? Prepare me for that.
If I left, I would go to Miami, Josh. I would take my talents to South Beach.
Shane, I might be open for a new co-host. So, oh man.
I honestly think with the sort of parting shots, if you will, from Al, I'm not mad at Al, because again, it wasn't him. But I'll tell you one thing, and I tweeted this last night. If I was Al, I would have called my dad and said, "Listen, why don't you just sort of table that sort of conversation and not let that be known, even if it is true, because I think that the whole Atlanta sports scene is talking about the fan base is a little bit overblown. I mean, yes, there are certain times when we look bad, but I think it's a bit overblown. But if I were out, I'd just been like, listen, Dad, even if this is true, let's just calm this down until the dust settles, because it's almost like he was rubbing salt in the wound last night. And it's not that I necessarily disagree with his opinion completely, because I don't, but it's just the timing of allowing that to be, of Tito coming out and saying that was just sort of is bad timing and bad PR for Al, if you will. I don't mind that he said it, and in a week or two, if he'd have said that, it would have probably bothered me less. But a couple hours after he leaves for Boston, and talks about how great their fan base is, just sort of bad timing and poor judgment, and sort of releasing that at that time. But I'm not mad overall. It's just timing wise, it upset me.
Yeah, I was also kind of reading the article of how, to which I said, which made me kind of wonder, like, not really if he was taking shots, well, the thoughts behind it, like if he was like trying to be hurtful, or if he was just kind of like, I don't know, trying to go overboard with it, which didn't really affect me that much. But anyway, I was reading him saying like how Atlanta's management was bad and all this other kind of stuff. To which I say, at least this is from Tito Horford. To which I say, were you just upset with Atlanta for a while now, or you're finally able to say it, or because I don't know, because he was like, well,
Yeah,
how
a while ago, Tito came out and said Al should be playing, he's playing the power forward. I think it was like
yeah,
2 years after he was drafted. So
yeah,
he's known to make these kind of statements.
yeah, and I don't know. To say that, and then Garrick, he left to go play center in Boston. So, and that's the thing that ultimately got him paid, being one of the top centers in the league. But hey, alas, here we are. But I don't know. Timing on it was just kind of funky on that one. Guys, I don't know what else to say. I'm almost kind of Horforded out. Um, you guys have any other comments about free agency so far? Want to mention?
Uh, is Malcolm Delaney our backup point guard? Do we
I
still have Kirk Henry?
think so. And if we have Kirk Heinrich, are we going to see an epic fight to the finish for the number 12? I don't know. Yeah, pretty
We
sure he's got to be.
we technically still have Kirk Heinrich, but he's a free agent. I guess if we renounce his rights, which I think we ultimately will do, he's gone. But Malcolm Delaney, I during my time and current time with NBA Draft.net, I covered the SEC, but I also covered the ACC for a few years. So I remember Malcolm Delaney, really well during his time at Virginia Tech, and I actually like that signing. I mean, it's going to be under the radar. It's not going to be for much money, and I say that in terms of much money compared to all the rest of these contracts being shelled out. So I actually like that move for us, and I think that he'll be a lot better than people are going to realize, because a lot of people, I mean, you don't know a whole lot about Malcolm Delaney. Most people don't, because he's a guy, he's been in the Euro League for the last few years, and Virginia Tech was never some big time college basketball program during his time there. But I like that move there, and I'm interested to see in terms of the rest of free agency. I mean, the Hawks still have some roster spots to fill out. I'm hoping that we can somehow move Splitter's money. I was looking earlier, the 76ers still only have like $27 million in total salaries. Well, they've got to sign a lot of guys to get up to that $84 million floor. So, in terms of that, I might make a call to the 76ers to see if they would take Splitter off our hands. He wouldn't mess with their future plans, because his salary comes off the books this, next summer. And, we could throw in a second round pick if we needed to, just to give them an asset for taking on that money. So I'm hoping to see something like that. But it'll be interesting to see how we fill out the rest of this roster. I'm not as doom and gloom about all this as some people are, because I don't think we're any, weren't going to win a title without Horford anyway. But I don't think, I think we're a worse team today, but are we that much worse? I'm going to say no. We were a 4 seed last year. I see us being no worse than a 6 seed at this point. So I don't think it's that much of a difference. But I believe when I was hopping on, you guys were talking about if we couldn't retain Horford, that we need to tank it. I would have rather gone that route. If we weren't going to sign Horford, I would rather not have signed Howard, flip Teague, flip Millsap, and then sort of start it over. That's more my mindset about this whole situation. I would have much rather just gone that route.
Yeah, and it's easy to say that considering we drafted 2 rookies this year, or at least that can play in the NBA, I imagine, that aren't getting shipped overseas. But here we are. Garrick. Never trust a Gator. What? Who said that? Sorry, Jason. I'll have to get Jason on and talk with at some point. Man, I really have nothing else to say about this. I kind of have just given my thoughts. The Horford signing was a gut punch. Although, okay, never mind. Let's talk about this real quick because I did talk about this earlier with Nubias. With Horford in Boston, does this make the team that much different, or so much more different that it pushes them over the top? I kind of imagine Horford replaces Sullinger, but besides that, is he that much of a difference maker since, Atlanta never had a true star, but suddenly Boston does? But that's besides the point.
I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Garrick, you want to go or me? Sorry.
Go ahead,
You go.
Clayton. Go ahead, Clayton.
Okay. I mean, no, I don't think that this makes them any more of a contender than the Hawks have been over the last couple of years. Because obviously we've seen the headlines here, and if you watch ESPN and them talking about Al Horford, and I believe somebody tweeted this, I'm not sure who it was, I have to go back and look. Somebody tweeted that ESPN's highlight package of Al Horford was nothing but him just slashing to the rim and dunking and rebounding, and getting put back dunks or whatnot. And obviously as Atlanta sports fans and Hawks fans, we know that that's not the complete truth about Al. So I don't necessarily think that Boston is getting the star that, of course, they feel like they are right now. And I mean, yes, they're a better team today than they were yesterday, but are they a contender? Not so much, in my opinion. I think that they're pretty much in the same spot that the Hawks have been in the last 2 years. They're a very good but not great team. I think they're set up better for the future in terms of assets and having younger guys on the roster. But today, and in this upcoming season, no, I don't believe they're any more of a contender than the Hawks were the last couple of years. They're better, yes, but not enough for me to challenge Cleveland in the Eastern Conference.
Okay, go ahead, Garrick.
They're about the same as they were as the Hawks a couple of years ago. So he's playing with an all-star, playing with a good coach. Some good role players, great role players, Jay Crowder and Marcus Smart. But I don't think they're going to win the East. They may be up there with Toronto now, but they're losing Biz, so maybe a 3 seed, maybe a 4.
Huh.
Now, of
Okay.
course, if Durant actually goes there, then we completely change this whole storyline. But I don't really see Durant going there anyway. I think that's more of a pipe dream for Boston. But if for whatever reason, if somehow the Horford signing brought Durant to Boston, then yes, they would be every bit the championship contender. But obviously, that's such a long shot.
Yeah, I think Al Horford's the best free agent they've ever gotten, right?
Yeah. Who's the best free agent we've ever gotten? Dwight Howard?
I'd say Joe Johnson, but technically he was ours first because we traded for him originally. back when we gave them Boris Diaw and a first-round pick, and I forget who else. I want to say Bob Sura was in that deal, but I could be wrong about that. But
It's an ongoing kind of joke we have of who the best free agent is that we've signed.
there aren't many. I mean, it's a short list. Let's put it that way.
It's an ongoing joke we have. I wanted that was my other thing I wanted to say to Garrick. I want to be like, so does Dwight Howard suddenly become the best free agent? Oh man. So what can Dwight bring to Atlanta? As my ending question, real quick, before we sign off. Garrick, I guess I'll let you start. Actually, no. I'll start and just say rebounding, I guess. Rebounding. He had his best seasons kind of like when it was like a spread offense, spread out, 1 through 4 shooting, him on the inside, and Paul Millsap will be the best guy he will play beside in a long time, maybe his career, but in a long time, especially defensively. I'll throw that out there. That's all I got for now. Garrick, what you think?
Paul Millsap is definitely the best. Well, I don't know. Gasol was pretty good. Did he play beside Gasol? Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, he did, but yeah.
But defensively, he's probably the best power forward he's ever played beside.
Yeah.
Turkoglu wasn't defending anyone. Rashard Lewis wasn't. So yeah. The main thing he brings is rebounding. Block shots, but Al did that too. I'm excited to see him in the pick and roll with Dennis. See how he runs it. See if he rolls hard to the basket, looking for the lob instead of just thinking he's the number one option on offense and calling for the ball in the post.
True. Though I do kind of wonder. I wonder if our game is going to slow down a lot now because Dwight's on the team. But alas. Anyway, Clayton, what you think? What do you think Dwight can bring to Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, the obvious thing, and we've all pointed this out, is he's a better rebounder than Al Horford is, and we all know that. I think in terms of something different that he brings than Al does, yeah, Al blocked shots, but Al wasn't necessarily a presence in the paint. You didn't have teams that would sort of shy away from driving to the basket and because Al Horford was standing there in the lane. And Dwight hasn't been that player in the last couple of years, but I think a lot of that was he's unhappy in Houston. So I think that if Dwight can actually just finally be happy where he is and just understand his role, I think that he'll be able to, aside from rebounding, he'll be the presence in the post defensively, and he'll protect the paint. And more than that, I just think that for this team and this city, I mean, it seems like this city has wanted Dwight Howard to come here for a long time. I remember back in 2011, 2012, when he was a free agent and being traded to the Lakers and all that kind of stuff. People wanted him here, so I think he'll bring some excitement, is what he'll bring here. I think that the one thing I like about what the Hawks have done here, agree or disagree on the Horford move and whether or not you think Dwight Howard is an upgrade over Horford, they did just make a change. I mean, it seems like since we drafted Al Horford and we've been that sort of on the cusp playoff team early on, and then we got a little bit better. We were second round playoff team pretty much for the last 7 years. It seems like we've just kept the status quo every single year, and we never really shook things up that much. Well, this is a huge shakeup. Getting rid of Teague and getting rid of Horford and bringing in Dwight Howard is a big shakeup for this team. Now, who knows if it'll work out, and I don't necessarily think that we've gotten any better, but we did make a change. So I think he brings a lot of excitement to this team. I'm thinking more off the court than anything. So I do like what he brings, and I agree with both of you guys that Paul Millsap is probably the best power forward he's played next to at that point in their careers. I mean, because Pau Gasol is definitely a great power forward, but at that point, I believe Pau was injured a little bit that year. I'm just saying that, looking forward, Paul Millsap is the best power forward he's played with in his career at that point in time. Powell was great in his day and is still a very good player. But I think everybody would rather have Paul Millsap right now over Pau Gasol. So I completely agree with you there. And the whole pick and roll thing with Dennis, that's going to definitely be interesting. It's just it's going to change the dynamic of this team. I trust coach. I trust Bud the coach more than I do sort of Bud the GM of this team. So I trust that he'll make the right decisions on the court and make the right adjustments. But like I said, I just think more than anything he'll bring a new level of excitement to this team. Whether or not that materializes on the court to wins and losses, I don't know. But at least it'll give us something different to cheer for and something different to look at every night.
Yeah. Well then, all of that. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, definitely something new. And this is something like, we're obviously going to be talking about going into the future, but these are just initial thoughts. Team's still got to get built together, so we will see what happens. Anyway, gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. And you know what? Let me get both of you guys the heck off the air because I know you guys have stuff to do on this weekend. And let me tune in for the next couple calls or a couple guys joining in with me. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for joining me, guys.
Oh, thanks a lot for having me.
Cool, man.